Do you accept that much of that money, in fact, has not been able to get to the front line because of the NICS increases?
Well,
social care sits outside.
First hand. I mean, absolutely. It's about ensuring that people can live.
Did you see the moment Keir Starmer completely lost control during yesterday's televised debate? While promising to solve Britain's social care crisis, an MP exposed his empty promises and lack of concrete plans, leaving him fumbling for words. In this video, I break down the exact moment when Starmer's carefully crafted political image crumbled in real time. You'll see how his word salad policies were torn apart when faced with simple questions about delivery and substance. In a recent parliamentary showdown that left viewers stunned, Keir Starmer faced what can only be described as a brutal dismantling of his social care policies. What began as a routine parliamentary debate quickly turned into a masterclass in political evisceration when an MP decided to push beyond Starmer's well-rehearsed talking points.
I mean, thank you for raising Scunthorpe. We are in the middle of discussion, so I hope the committee will forgive me if I don't go through each of the fine detail. But
before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favour. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video. The confrontation laid bare a troubling reality. Behind Starmer's polished promises lies a vacuum where concrete policy should be. When directly challenged to outline his actual plan for social care reform, Starmer's response crumbled into what the MP aptly described as word salad, a jumble of political jargon lacking any nutritional value for the struggling care system. Most revealing was Starmer's retreat to the safety of vague platitudes. His insistence that we need to take time to get it right might sound reasonable on the surface, but in context, it reads as the latest verse in a familiar song of postponement. Similarly, his call for cross-party cooperation appears less a genuine desire for collaboration and more a tactical diversion to avoid articulating his own position.
one, we need to take time to get it right, and it needs to be cross-party. And Louise Case is, in my view, the right person on a project like this.
What makes this exchange particularly damning is how perfectly it captures Starmer's broader leadership approach. When cornered, his instinct isn't to defend his vision with conviction, but to retreat behind procedural shields. He mentioned allocating £3.7 billion of additional funding for social care authorities in 25-26.
To answer your question, which is why we made available £3.7 billion of additional funding for social care authorities in 25-26.
Yet even this concrete figure was presented without the substantive framework needed to address the systemic issues plaguing social care. The parliamentary moment reached its crescendo when the MP systematically sliced and diced Starmer's arguments in real time. Rather than responding with substantive counterpoints, Starmer appeared visibly uncomfortable, his carefully constructed political persona cracking under the weight of specific questions requiring specific answers.
First hand. I mean, absolutely. It's about ensuring that people can live.
This exchange illuminates a critical weakness at the heart of Starmer's leadership: the inability to translate lofty campaign promises into actionable policy when faced with direct scrutiny. The MP highlighted how social care reform had been pushed down the road too many times, a criticism that strikes at the core of Starmer's credibility gap. The frustration emanating from the opposition benches wasn't merely partisan posturing, but genuine exasperation, with a leader who consistently substitutes substance with style. The MP's methodical dismantling of Starmer's position wasn't just effective. According to observers, it left his leadership in tatters. The parliamentary bloodbath didn't end with social care. With Starmer still reeling from that initial assault, the MP launched into what observers later described as the most devastating phase of the debate: a surgical dissection of Starmer's supposed economic vision.
True.
Do you accept that much of that money, in fact, has not been able to get to the front line because of the NICS increases?
Well,
social care sits outside.
What happens when you strip away the buzzwords and political platitudes from Starmer's economic plan? According to the MP who confronted him, you're left with nothing but a political vacuum. This damning characterisation emerged as Starmer struggled to articulate how his leadership would meaningfully address the economic challenges facing ordinary Britons. Throughout his campaign, Starmer positioned himself as offering a fresh economic alternative, distinct from Conservative policies. Yet when challenged to explain this difference, the MP brutally exposed Starmer's economic platform as little more than a watered-down version of Tory Light, essentially a cheap knockoff, promising the same outcomes but without substantive differences in approach. The tension in the chamber reached its peak when the MP directly confronted Starmer on how his economic proposals would tackle inflation, the spiralling cost of living crisis, and persistent wage stagnation. As cameras captured the exchange, Starmer's typically composed demeanour noticeably faltered. His responses became increasingly defensive and evasive, punctuated by awkward pauses and nervous adjustments of his tie.
Well, look, I mean, it's a huge cash terms increase that's
which isn't actually
gone
going
through.
to deliver any.
Body language that spoke volumes about his discomfort under genuine scrutiny. Parliamentary observers noted how this pattern of vague commitments without concrete implementation strategies mirrors Starmer's approach across multiple policy areas. Just as with his nebulous NHS reform proposals and education pledges, his economic vision consists primarily of ambitious-sounding objectives, without the detailed roadmap or funding mechanisms necessary for actual implementation.
MSAT was a woman who described her experience of NHS and care, and the way she paraphrased it was, "The NHS keeps me alive. Surely the way to solve this would be to get this done and dusted during this Parliament, not kick it into the law."
The MP's most cutting observation came when he declared that Starmer was too stuck in the middle, too busy playing both sides to take any real action. This accusation of political fence-sitting landed with particular force because it targeted what many see as Starmer's fundamental weakness, an unwillingness to take clear, definitive positions that might alienate any potential voter bloc. By the debate's conclusion, what had started as a challenge to explain policy had transformed into a broader indictment of Starmer's leadership capabilities. The MP had systematically exposed not just the emptiness of Starmer's economic proposals, but a profound disconnect from the everyday concerns of working people across Britain.
So whilst local authorities have had some money flow down to them, it barely covers the next increases for those social care providers.
What we witnessed in that debate wasn't merely Starmer struggling with policy details, it was the complete unmasking of a leadership void. When pressed on real issues, Starmer's disconnect from ordinary voters was painfully evident. Rather than offering solutions to the housing crisis or presenting a coherent economic vision, he retreated into evasion and excuses.
Now, when we've had social care reforms be kiboshed in the past, it has been during election campaigns.
This fundamental inability to articulate clear plans when challenged directly raises the most troubling question. Can Britain afford leadership without substance? The answer isn't partisan politics, but demanding genuine accountability from all our leaders. We deserve specific, measurable commitments, not political word games that leave the country drifting while real problems remain unsolved.